going to be taking a look at lesson 4 of chapter 6, which is looking at solving two-step equations. There is one vocabulary word that you will need to take a look at and fill in your vocab map. If you take a look on page 469, your vocab word is going to be two-step equation. Again, we're going to be looking at how to solve two-step equations, again, based off of what we had learned in previous lessons with solving one-step equations. First and foremost, what I would like to do today is just kind of go ahead and take a look at some review questions before we actually get into solving two-step equations. We want to go back and review how to solve one-step equations, because one of the things that's very important is that we continue to build on solving one-step equations in order to be able to solve two-step equations. So the first example I'm going to give you is x plus 4 equals 6. Okay, this is a basic one-step equation. Remember, again, the first thing that you're going to do is find your variable. What's being done with your variable? 4 is being added to your variable. So the opposite of adding 4 would be to subtract 4. So we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. We're going to cancel out our 4's. So x is going to equal 2. Now I can go back and check it. 2 plus 4 does equal 6. Okay, and so I know that one is correct. Another one that we might have would be 4x equals 16. So when I take a look at 4x equals 16, again, I'm finding my variable. My variable is being multiplied by 4, so the opposite of multiplication would be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And again, we show that using a fraction bar. 4's are going to cancel out because 4 divided by 4 is 1, so 1x is left. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Okay, now I can go back and check it. 4 times 4 does give me 16. Okay, so again, those are just a couple review problems in terms of solving one-step equations that I wanted to go through and discuss before we actually got into taking a look at your solving two-step equations. Okay, two-step equations, basically when we are looking at these, one thing to remember is with two-step equations, generally you're going to have a multiplication or division with it, and then also addition or subtraction. Variable will be on one side in this case, in this lesson that we are working on. So you can see in example 1, they give you the situation of 2x plus 3 equals 9. When you are solving your two-step equations, you always want to get rid of what is being added or subtracted to it first. So in this case, we found our variable over here, and I've got plus 3. So the very first thing I need to do is get rid of that plus 3. The opposite of adding 3 is to subtract 3. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3 on both sides. So you can see that they're showing that they are subtracting 3. Okay, 3's are going to cancel out. So 2x is going to equal 9 minus 3 equals 6. Now we're down to a one-step equation where we have 2x equals 6. The opposite of multiplication is dividing. So we were taking our variable times 2. So the opposite would be to divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I have 1x left equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now, please go back and remember to check it. If x is equal to 3, I can take 2 times 3, which would be 6. And 6 plus 3 would give me 9. So it does work out. Okay? Another example as we take a look at the top of page 471. Again, you're going to see here that they're taking 3x plus 2 equals 23. Again, you're going to work with your addition and subtraction first. So in this case, we're adding 2, which means the opposite of that would be to subtract 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. So 2 minus 2, those are going to cancel out because that's 0. I have 3x left, so we're bringing 3x down, equals 23 minus 2 is 21. Now I'm going to go back to where my variable is. My variable is being multiplied by 3. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 would be to divide by 3. So you can see that they've divided both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that cancels out. X is going to equal 21 divided by 3 is 7. Again, go back and check. Always double check these. If you're checking them correctly, there should be no reason why you should make a mistake. So if x is 7, 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus 2 does give me 23, so it does check out. Okay, example 3 is looking at some negatives, and we are also subtracting this time. Again, like I had mentioned earlier, you're going to start with what you are adding or subtracting. So in this case, here's my variable, and I'm taking 7 away from it. So the opposite of subtracting 7 is to add 7. So you can see we've added 7 to both sides, because remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other in order to keep that scale balanced. Okay, so we're adding 7 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels out. Negative 2y is left. That's going to equal 3 plus 7 is 10. So I have negative 2y equals 10. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. So y is going to equal negative 5. And again, I can go back and check it. Negative 2 times negative 5 would be a positive 10. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And I have 10 minus 7, which would give me 3. Another example, this one here is dealing with fractions. Okay, so we have a rational coefficient here, so we have to be careful and think about our rules with that. Again, start with what's being added or subtracted. So you've got 1/5 r and then plus 4, because 4 is positive. So we're going to subtract to take that 4 out. So we're subtracting 4 on both sides. 4 minus 4 cancels out. So I have 1/5 r left equals negative 1 minus 4. So that's technically the same as saying negative 1 plus negative 4, which would give me a negative 5. Now I'm going to go back to here. I have a rational coefficient, meaning I have a fraction. Okay, normally we would divide because we're multiplying, but because it's a fraction, we need to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/5 would be 5 over 1 or 5. So you can see in this example, they're multiplying both sides by the whole number 5. These would cancel out. R is left. 5 times negative 5 gives me negative 25. Again, I can go back up and check. 1/5 of negative 25. That should give me a negative 5. Negative 5 plus 4 would give me a negative 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at the examples on the bottom of 471. I'm going to do a couple with you, and then I want you to pause the video and work on a couple on your own, and then you can come back and check them, okay? Let's go ahead and we're going to start with letter A, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually write it down here. So I've got 2x plus 4 equals 10. And remember, like we talked about earlier, you want to get rid of whatever you are adding or subtracting first of all. So in this case, we're adding 4, so the opposite of adding 4 is to subtract 4. So 4's are going to cancel, 2x is going to equal 10 minus 4 is 6. Now I'm taking 2 times x, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2, x is going to equal 3. Now I can go back and check it. 2 times 3 would be 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, so it does check out. And there's my answer. Let's take a look at letter B. Again, I'm going to write it down here to give myself some more room to show my work. So I've got 3x plus 5 equals 14. Again, here's my variable. I've got 3 times x plus 5, so we're going to get rid of the addition part of it. So they were adding 5, so the opposite is to subtract 5. 5 minus 5 cancels out. 3x is going to equal 14 minus 5 is 9. I'm taking 3 times x, so the opposite of that would be to divide. So x should equal 3, and I'm going to circle my answer. Now let's check it. 3 times 3 would be 9, 9 plus 5 is 14, so that does work. Taking a look at letter C. Okay, we've got 5 equals 2 plus 3x. We have to be careful on this one because this is the first example that we're seeing where the variable is on the right-hand side. Because the variable is on the right-hand side, it has to stay on the right-hand side. We can't move it back over. So I'm going to work over here this time. I've got 3x plus 2. So what I want to do here is I'm going to take away 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. So 5 minus 2 gives me 3 equals 3x. Now I'm taking 3 times x, so the opposite of that would be to divide. So x should equal 3 divided by 3 is 1. So let's check it. 3 times 1 would be 3 plus 2 is 5, so it does work out. What I would like you to do at this moment is to go ahead and pause the video and then go ahead and complete Got It problems D, E, and F. And then when you're completed with those, turn the video back on and check your work with mine. As we are taking a look at letter D, and hopefully you have this completed, you should have taken and subtracted 5 on both sides. So I've got 4x equals 8. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 4. So x should equal 2. And I can check it. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13, so it works out. Hopefully you have the same answer as well. Let's take a look at letter E. We're going to subtract 8 on both sides. So I'm going to have negative 5s equals negative 10. Remember, you have 2 negatives. So now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. So s should equal a positive 2. Let's check it. Negative 5 times 2 would be negative 10. Negative 10 plus 8 would be negative 2. So that does work. Last but not least, let's take a look at letter F. I'm adding a negative 2. The opposite of adding a negative 2 would be to add a positive 2. So I'm going to add a positive 2 to both sides. So 2/3 W will equal 12. Now I have a fraction. Normally we would be dividing, but actually because it's a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3/2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/2. Those cancel. W is going to equal, I can cross reduce, so 6 times 3 would be 18. So W should equal 18. Now we can check that. 2/3 of 18. When I think about 2/3 of 18, I can cross reduce here, so 2 times 6 would be 12. And then 12 plus negative 2 does give me a positive 10. So we are correct. Hopefully you were able to come up with the same answers as well when you worked through questions D, E, and F. If not, please go back and check your work with my work and see where you made your mistake. Now, let's go ahead and move on to page 472. We're going to take a look at the real world problem on the top of 472 that your book has given us. One of the things that they're asking you to do on the top of 472 is they're giving you a situation, and you are going to have to basically come up with an equation or set up an equation on your own. And so what I would like you to do right now is go ahead and take a look at the top of 472, example 5. It says Toya had her birthday party at the movies. It cost $27 for pizza and $8.50 per friend for the movie tickets. How many friends did Toya have at her party if she spent $78? Okay, and so you can see in your book, as mine's being kind of tricky here, you can see as you're in your book, one of the things that they had done was they had broke it down to set up the equation. Here it works. So you've got your cost of pizza plus the cost of a friend times your number of friends equals your total amount of $78. So they've set it up in words. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write that equation for that. So the cost of pizza, okay, which we know is $27, you can see right here, plus cost of one friend. We don't know what the cost of a friend is. So remember, anytime we don't know the cost of something, you're going to plug in a variable there. Your book is choosing the letter N for your number of friends. So you're going to take your cost of one friend, which is actually $8.50 per friend. So $8.50 times N, and then it comes up with our total of $78. So when I plug this together, write this equation, I'm looking at 27 plus 8.50 times N is going to equal $78. And you will notice that below this, that they have set that up for you. Okay, again, we're adding 27 to both sides, so the opposite of adding 27 is to subtract 27. Okay, so the book has subtracted 27 on both sides, so they end up with $8.50 times N equals 51. Now we're multiplying here, it's a decimal, so the opposite of multiplication can be division, or is division. So we're going to divide both sides by $8.50. Those are going to cancel, and it's going to be left, and we get 6. So to go back and answer the question in terms of how many friends can Toya have at the party, she can have 6 friends at her party. Okay? All right, now what I would like to do is go ahead and take a look at the guided practice problems right here that we have on page 472. I would like you guys to go ahead and take a look at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pause your video right now and work through those. And then once you're completed with 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can go ahead and turn the video back on and check your answers with the book. After you've completed your guided practice problems, hopefully you're going to come up with the same answers that I have. As we take a look at number 1, technically we're going to subtract 1 on both sides. So hopefully you have subtracted 1. So I've got 12 is going to equal 4s. Divide both sides by 4. Okay, so s should equal 3. Again, s is going to stay on the right-hand side because the variable started on the right-hand side. Here's my variable. I'm subtracting 5, so the opposite is to add 5. So I've got negative 3y is going to equal 15. Divide both sides by negative 3. And we should come up with negative 5, as you can see. Taking a look over here, they're adding 1, so the opposite would be to subtract 1. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8. Then I get 2/3 n left. I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which would be 3/2. Those are gonna cancel and it's gonna be left and I would get -12. Taking a look at number 4, Sarita wants to buy some CDs that each cost $14 and a DVD that costs $23. She has $65. Write and solve an equation to find how many CDs she can buy. Okay, well we know that each CD costs $14. We don't know how many CDs she's getting, so we're taking 14 times C, which is your number of CDs, plus she's buying a DVD that costs $23, and we know she has $65 to spend. So we're taking the cost of her CDs plus the cost of her DVD and setting it up with her total. Work through it, subtract 23 on both sides, divide by 14, we should come up with 3 CDs. Now, next, what I would like you to do is to go ahead and take a look at page 475 in your book. It's the extra practice problems. Please refer back to the web page to see which problems I would like you to do.